In the peaceful countryside of central France stands a ghost town. Empty streets, rusted cars, abandoned homes. This is Oradour-sur-Glane, a village where time stopped on June 10th, 1944. What happened here represents one of the most brutal civilian massacres of World War II on French soil. Today we walk through the preserved ruins that serve as a memorial to unspeakable tragedy. Before June 10th, 1944, Oradour-sur-Glane was an unremarkable rural community of about 650 people. Located in the Haute-Vienne department near Limoges, it was a modest market town with a tram connection to the city. The village had a school, a baker, a butcher, several cafes, and a hotel. Many residents were farmers or craftsmen. Life here maintained an almost idyllic rhythm despite the German occupation of France. Children attended school, farmers worked their fields, and on weekends the cafes would fill with locals. The village had even taken in refugees from parts of France under heavier German control and bombing. 4 days after Allied forces landed in Normandy on June 6, 1944, tensions were high throughout occupied France. German forces were increasingly concerned about French resistance activities in the region. The Maquis, the French resistance fighters, were particularly active in the densely forested and mountainous Limousin region surrounding Oradour. Just one day before, in the nearby town of Toul, the SS had hanged 99 men from balconies and lampposts in reprisal for resistance attacks. But Oradour-sur-Glane had no significant resistance presence. It was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. On that fateful Saturday afternoon, a detachment of approximately 150 Nazi soldiers, commanded by Adolf Diekmann, surrounded the village with military precision. At approximately 2 p.m., the Germans entered Oradour. They announced a document check and ordered all villagers to assemble in the town square, the Champ de Foire. By 3 p.m., the entire population had gathered. The SS then systematically separated the men from the women and the children. The men were divided into 6 groups of roughly 30 each and led to various barns, garages, and sheds around the village. Inside each location, machine guns had been carefully positioned, and on signal, the SS troops opened fire, deliberately aiming at the legs to ensure maximum suffering and to prevent immediate death. After the initial volleys, the soldiers methodically covered the wounded with hay, straw, and other flammable materials and set them alight. Any who attempted to escape were shot. Meanwhile, the women and 207 children were locked inside the village church. At first, they might have felt safer there, in the sanctuary of a house of worship. The soldiers then placed a large wooden box with a fuse inside and set it on fire. It produced thick, choking smoke, but didn't explode as intended. Frustrated by this failure, the SS men opened the church doors and began firing machine guns and throwing hand grenades at the defenseless women and children. As the desperate victims tried to escape through the windows and doors, they were systematically shot down. The SS then set fire to the church, and the heat was so intense that the church bell melted and crashed through the roof. Only one woman, 47-year-old Madame Marguerite Ruffanche, managed to escape by jumping from a rear window some 10 feet above ground and crawling to nearby bushes, despite being shot 5 times in the legs and shoulder. In her testimony, she recalled, "I jumped from the window. I was wounded and I crawled on my knees. I hid among dead bodies for 24 hours. That's all I can tell you." The systematic slaughter lasted about 5 hours. In total, 642 civilians were killed that day, including 247 women and 207 children. The youngest victim was only a week old. The oldest was 90. Only 6 people from the entire village survived. After the massacre, the SS looted the village and set it ablaze, attempting to destroy the evidence of their crimes. On June 10, 1946, exactly 2 years after the massacre, French General Charles de Gaulle personally visited the ruins. Deeply moved, he declared that the ruins of Oradour-sur-Glane would be preserved exactly as they were, as a permanent memorial to the atrocity. He awarded the village the Legion of Honor, the Order of Liberation, and the Military Cross. Today, visitors enter through a modern museum called the Centre de la Mémoire, or Center of Memory, opened in 1999. The center provides historical context, displays personal belongings of the victims, and includes testimony from survivors before visitors walk among the ruins. What makes Oradour particularly haunting is the presence of everyday objects. Here is Dr. Desorteau's rusted Peugeot car. He was killed along with his wife and son. There's Louis Bouchoul's garage with tools still hanging on the walls. The Averill Hotel's kitchen still contains pots and pans. Madame Laudy's sewing machine sits exactly where it was left. But probably the most heart-wrenching are the children's possession, like the small tricycle. So why remember such a horror? The preserved ruins of Oradour-sur-Glane stand as a stark reminder of what happens when hatred is allowed to flourish, when civilians become targets, when humanity is abandoned. Every year, tens of thousands of people visit this site. They walk the streets in silence, confronting a very dark chapter of human history. And the message is clear. Democracy and human rights are fragile achievements that must be actively defended. As we face new conflicts and divisions in our world today, the silent streets of Oradour ask us to pause and remember. Their silence speaks volumes. For a village frozen in time offers lessons that transcend decades, lessons we ignored at our peril. So, yeah, that was a little heavy.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I've been wanting to do that for 5 years now.
Yes.
And I don't know, the more we went there and the more I got into this video, and really I have been working on it for 5 years. I would find new photos and, new things, new postcards, whatever. And this last time we went, I'd found a postcard of this woman standing in front of a well, and I knew the well from past visits. And so I went over there and stood this last time, and it just kind of a feeling of dread came over me. But another photo that I came across doing this was of a couple. They had a cafe hair cutting coiffeuse, hairdresser. And they were standing in the doorway of their shop, and as we were walking down the street one day, I looked at it and I realized that was the same shop. And so, yeah, it's hard to, I don't know if there are any other museums like that. There must be some somewhere,
Yeah.
But it really does drive things home for you, and it makes you realize how lucky you are, really.
Especially, growing up in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we grew up in the U.S. and a lot of our viewers are from the U.S. and Canada and Australia, and war hasn't physically impacted the main.
Not really. No, Pearl Harbor was a mess,
Right.
But in general, no.
No, whereas the people in Europe and France and then Italy now and Sicily, it's in
their face every day.
in their face every day. We drive from here to Siracusa, and there are bunkers.
And machine gun nests.
Just still there.
Yeah.
So it's a reality check.
When we lived in France, in that house, there were a couple brothers living there, and they were known to be in the Maquis, the resistance. And one day the Nazis showed up looking for them and warned the parents that if those kids don't stop, they were gonna come and take
Get
the
them.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a very different. This is a very different world from what we grew up in.
100%. But it's a good reminder.
Very good reminder.
You have to live
Yep. You never know what's around the corner.
and celebrate.
Yeah, for sure.